Most people resist going to this level of work. They resist going in the body, don't they?
A panic attack is similar to that, where it's this, your body has built up so much and then you like have to release.
I've been coaching and mentoring for 15 years, so over 150,000 people. And I look at pattern, and people who are in the spiritual world, my healers, they have the most resistance and blocks when it comes to money. What up, my people, my posse, my fellow crazies? It's your host, Tiffany Carter, and this is the show that is going to help you grow your business, your bank account, that big, beautiful brain of yours, your relationships, and everything in between. We're going to go right to it. There's no surface talk in this episode. We're going deep, and we are getting there quick. We focus on all of the mindset stuff. There's thousands of books about it. There's podcasts about it. We overthink. We ruminate. We go to talk therapy. But that only really gets you so far. You're still experiencing so much overload and overstimulation, and you still aren't sleeping at night. And you still feel exhausted during the day, even after you've come back from a vacation. Your body is speaking to you. Your body keeps the score. Your trauma is stored in your tissues. And we're going deep into the somatic work today on a level that you've never gone before with the leading expert, the workout witch. So we have Liz Tenuto. Her new book is out, which I'm so excited to share with all of you. I have all of that linked inside of the show notes, so you can swipe up on Apple and Spotify. It's also in the description here on YouTube at ProjectME TV. I do need to give a trigger warning for this episode. Liz and I both are survivors of extreme trauma. We both have complex PTSD. And so we do talk about childhood sexual abuse along with narcissistic abuse in some detailed form. So if you're not in a position to hear anything like that right now, you can pause the episode, you can skip it, you can come back. But if it's something that you know is going to make you feel more seen, heard, and understood, which I truly feel it will, because that's what we designed it for, please take a listen. And I have resources for you inside of the show notes. Share this with someone after you listen to it that you feel could really benefit from it. We avoid getting into our bodies because that's where the truth is. The truth is there, the feelings are there, the memories are there, and the stored trauma is there. So it's understandable. But we can't outthink our nervous system. We can't outthink ourselves on a cellular level. We have to do the release work from our body and not just the release work from our mind. And getting a massage and going on vacation isn't going to cut it. I tried that for years. This is the stuff that will change your life, and truly in a matter of minutes a day. So I can't wait for you to learn all about this. Before we get into this powerful conversation, I need you to hear me on something. You do not need any more information to grow your business. In fact, you're on information overload. You are hiding behind studying more and being the student because that's far less vulnerable than putting things into action on something that's new, on something where there's high stakes, on something that feels awkward because you've not really done it before and you're not sure what you're doing. Information is not the problem. You need someone you can trust to cut through all of the noise that is out there. And someone who's going to really say to you, do this, don't do this, get damn good at this, and here's how to apply it to your business specifically. And that's exactly what we do live every single week inside of the Posse. We're celebrating our 7th anniversary, which is wild that the Posse has been around that long, helping hundreds of people change their entire lives by finally being able to break through income ceilings and make money on their own terms, on their own time, on their own schedules, helping people all over the world. And we are doing something insane that I can't even believe it exists, that if you are coming in as our VIP level in the Posse, we've created Gab Lab AI. And this is Gabby. She is your 24/7 profitable content strategist. Imagine having me write and plan
all of your content for you. I'm talking your video scripts. I'm talking your yapping videos. I'm talking your carousels, your hooks, your calls to action, because you can sit there and keep posting all day. You can keep yip yapping away all you want, and it's not going to convert into sales unless you actually know that skill and understand how to apply that skill. And then you can use AI as a tool to get things done in about half the time. And this is one of the most remarkable things that is available, and you're not going to be able to get it anywhere else. To buy that separately from me, it's over $2,400. And this is included when you select the 6-month option. Go to ProjectME with Tiffany.com/Project Me Posse. Swipe up inside here on Apple, Spotify, and the description here on YouTube. We do keep this community limited to an intimate size so I can keep track of all you crazies, and you have live weekly accountability. So if you go to the page and it says that it's full, you can get put on a wait list and hopefully a spot will open up for you. So even if you need to pause this episode and go and get in there, I would do that and then come back in.
Well, first of all, I'm thrilled to finally see you in person. I want to start out by acknowledging the work that you do for trauma survivors, as I am someone with complex PTSD. And for those of you guys who don't know who she is, you'll be able to follow her at the Workout Witch and swipe up. And I want you to see this content, because that is the definition of making someone feel seen, heard, and understood, because of how detailed and specific you get with your content. So we're going to get into that, because I know everyone wants to know, like, how did you amass millions of people, doing something you love and using your own personal story, because so many of us want to do that, but you could have done anything. Like, how did we end up here?
Thank you so much for having me. We kind of ended up here at first by accident, and then through a lot of really hard work. And when I say by accident, I was going through a really hard divorce in 2020. I realized I was married to a narcissist, and I could barely get out of bed when I had that realization. And we separated, and I was like, let me download TikTok. It's like this fun app, and I'll like laugh, and it'll be entertaining, and I'll watch people dance. And it was the pandemic, and in California, everything was closed. At the time, I was a Pilates instructor, and I couldn't teach in the gyms. So I was unemployed for my first time as well. And that was really difficult for me. So deeply depressed, probably in the worst place I'd ever been in my life. And I was like, I am certified in these somatic exercises. I'm going to try to post one a day on TikTok and just see what happens. I have 0 followers. No one that I know follows me here. Like, none of my colleagues are watching me. None of my friends from college are watching me. And I started posting on TikTok more as like a visual diary for myself, and as a way to hold myself accountable for doing one exercise in bed per day, because I was like lethargic and I had no energy. And it really started popping off really fast on TikTok. I got 10,000 followers in 3 weeks, and I wasn't trying to monetize anything. I actually posted for a year before I came out with any of my courses. And it was just almost like this way of me processing what I was going through, but kind of doing it publicly, which was terrifying at the same point once it started getting more visibility. And so that was the accidental piece. But then once I started realizing how much the exercises were really helping people and how many other people were going through similar things, I was like, oh, let me develop this more, and let me see if I can get good at explaining neuroscience in these really quick, easy to digest, bite-sized pieces that can be consumed on social media.
When you and your ex broke up, how difficult was that for you to untangle and leave that relationship?
Tremendously. I thought that just like the physical separation itself, I thought would be like the end. But there was so much abuse that happened especially within that first month after the physical separation happened. So, for example, I found this out later because I hired a tech security company to help me, but he had installed a remote access device in my computer prior to us separating. And so he had been tracking me and like my accounts and, you know, everything for a long time. And when we separated, he deleted all of the data from my computer. And so I lost all of my photos from like age 18 to 33. I lost everything on my computer. It was just like a clean wipeout. And I even had an external hard drive at the time. And I don't know how it happened, but the external hard drive was wiped clean too. So I literally had none of it. Was almost like someone completely robbed my online.
Yeah, you had
life.
digital robbery.
Yeah, but that's not a crime. So like, you know, like if he had come in and robbed the house, that would have been a crime, but he didn't. And then he also, I like luckily got a restraining order because there was some like kind of physical stuff that happened before we separated. And sorry, I just like blanked out because it's, you know, when you talk about trauma, sometimes you're like, ah.
That's okay. And I think that's important for people to experience that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's real.
Yeah, it is real. It is real. Like sometimes I have like this moment where my brain just remembers what I went through because I don't think about it as often as I used to. And sometimes when I talk about it, it's like my brain's like, oh, and I'm still processing it a little bit. But I was able to kick him out of the apartment that we lived in successfully because of the restraining order, changed the locks with the building because of the restraining order. But then he vandalized my car in the garage because he still had access to the fob key and it was in this building. And, you know, he was able to get in and put a Freon leak in the car and messed with the belt, which is like incredibly dangerous. And luckily I have like a weirdly like in tune sense of smell. And I like smelled when I turned on my air conditioning, I smelled that something smelled wrong. And my mom was coming up to help me. And I was like, I can't pick my mom up with the car smelling like this from the airport. And so I took it into I drove a Honda Civic at the time. I took it into the Honda Civic dealership or the Honda dealership. And they told me what had happened. The car was like brand new. I had just leased it like a year prior. And I was like, what are the chances of this just happening? And they're like 0.001%. And then, you know, we found a drill in the car. We found all this stuff in the car. And obviously, I'm not 100% sure it was him, but I don't have camera footage of him doing it. But I don't really know who else had the key to the car, had the key to the garage, like was able to lock the car afterwards. And it happened right after we separated. And then even during the divorce process, it was very difficult. We were only communicating through lawyers. And at a certain point, he completely ghosted his lawyer. And then we had to threaten with a motion to compel to dig into all of his financial accounts because during the marriage there was a lot of financial abuse that was occurring. He was regularly transferring 5-figure sums out of our joint bank account into accounts that were only in his name. And so, you know, we had all of that on writing. And so my lawyer wanted to dig into that more, which was when we filed the motion to compel. And then once we threatened that, he came back and we were able to settle the divorce. But it was really rough. And the whole process, like the divorce itself took over 18 months.
Untangling from a narcissist, a sociopath, whether you're related to them, you're married to them, you could even work for one.
Mm-hmm.
You could be a business partner.
Mm-hmm.
It can also be a friend.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even stop at the month after.
No.
And this is a lot of the work that you help people through, including myself, because I do your exercises. And I want to ask a question about it because I noticed something really interesting, but I'll table that for in a little bit. And I am no contact from my mom,
Okay.
who's a narcissist. It's my only living relative.
Mm.
And this has been many years now, to the point I don't know how many years. I think it's 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And there's still stuff
Mm-hmm.
that can come up when I least expect it.
Mm.
So how long after did you have a lot of stuff still coming up, presenting in other relationships, hitting you when you least expected it? Was it years?
Yeah, so I've been divorced now for over 5 years. And actually, when this book came out, there was an attempt to hack my Facebook account. And I have a CTO in my business, a chief technology officer. And my Facebook has been hacked into successfully one time before, and I lost 850,000 followers. But the number of hack attempts that we receive, I asked my CTO, I was like, is this a normal amount? Because I know other people experience that too. And they were like, no, this is a complete, I've never seen anything like this many hack attempts into a Facebook account. And he did, because of the remote access device, like he did have more access to my technology than, he would have had if he hadn't had that remote access device. So he did have like passwords and backup codes and all of that to my Facebook account.
Was there stuff going on in the back of your mind before you came out with the book? And you guys, I got a signed copy. When the Body Speaks, it's out now, which I didn't realize it was out because clearly I don't always pay attention. And so I'm so excited to read it, but you guys can swipe up and get the link to that book. And I don't want to forget to say that because you need to read it. So when we come out with a book, or you're starting to get, pretty quickly, very well known online, like high visibility for someone who has gone through many different forms of trauma, reads in a body as danger, abort mission, high alert, high alert, high alert. Did any of that come up for you as like 3 weeks you have 10,000 followers and then you have 50, then now you're in the millions? Like what happened to you physically?
Absolutely. It's something that I'm consistently working on within somatic practice and with my therapist. I've had the same therapist now for 5.5 years, and they do EMDR, and them and I do EMDR quite regularly for managing the visibility aspect of it. In some ways, having a lot of visibility also feels like it's keeping me safe too, because I have such a strong community of people behind me. And, like if I disappeared, people would definitely notice.
Fair.
So that in some ways it makes me feel safer. But there have been like certain moments in my career where I've like felt like almost like this freeze in my body where I'm like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. And I don't know if I can put myself out there like this anymore. But at the same point, I'm kind of like F this one dude, like I don't want this one dude to hold me back from what I know I can become. And like I've helped over 250,000 women are in my courses. Like I feel, and I'm so like passionate about what I do that I don't want my one ex-husband to like limit me in any way. So we have really aggressive tech security in my business now. Everyone's consistently trained on like phishing and social engineering, and we're pretty hardcore about that. And I'm really knowledgeable about that. And I've worked with tech security firms to help me understand the steps that I need to take to prevent that.
When you started seeing, oh, I can make a business out of this, it wasn't for how long did you have that thought? Because you didn't start like monetizing it until a year in, right?
Right. So the gyms were closed for about, I think it was almost a year, maybe slightly more than a year in California. I think it was March 2020 to July 2021. I went back to teaching Pilates one-on-one lessons in July of 2021 when the gyms reopened, but I actually opened my own business at that time. Prior, I had always been coaching for other studios and a teacher at other studios, but I was just like, I have nothing to lose at that point. I was like, I'm going to be my own, open my own business. And I was coaching Pilates. I specialized in injury recovery for women. I already had like 14 years of experience. I was very well connected and had clients and everything. And I started doing the courses as just like little extra gravy money because all of my clients would go on vacation at the same time. They'd all take like July off and they'd all take December off. And I'd freak out because if I wasn't working, I wasn't making money. And I was like, I need to have a side hustle to make a little extra money. So I started the courses as this side hustle. When I launched the Release Stress and Stored Trauma course, which is our hero product in the business, it's $57. I woke up that next morning and I had 11 orders, and it was like
That's
day one.
so exciting.
And it was so exciting for me, and I was just like thrilled about it. And then it got to the point where like a couple months in, I was like, whoa, I'm making more from the courses than I'm going to make all day teaching Pilates. And teaching Pilates, I'm like lifting up boxes. I'm, like doing all this physical labor. And I did both for a while, I would say about 6 months, until it became like, okay, I clearly need to stop teaching Pilates and just focus on my online business and put all of my time and energy into that.
Are you someone who is risk adverse because of trauma that you've been through?
I'd say I'm conservative with taking risks for sure. I'm open to it, but like I play it pretty safe. Like I like hoard money to the point where my accountant is like, you need to spend money. Please go buy a car and like make sure it's heavy enough that we can write it off on your taxes. Like you need to go spend money. Cause I actually I was a millionaire and I lived in a 500 square foot studio apartment for a long time. And he was like, it's okay to go spend money. You're fine. Please spend money. So that's been interesting to notice.
Something I say in the intro of the show is that I am not wired to be an entrepreneur. And that's one of many reasons is because I crave certainty,
Yes.
even though I know really nothing is certain intellectually, I know,
Right.
but I crave it so much. I'm risk adverse, and you've obviously met a lot of business people and entrepreneurs. Most of them get off on it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That is not how I roll.
Yeah. Do you think it helps you in some ways in your business?
I think I'm significantly more profitable than most people. And my CPA firm, which is the largest firm in Southern California, I'm in their top 1% of profitability. And it's because of that. But there's a but there.
Yeah.
But have I missed out on some incredible opportunities because of it? Yeah. And that's kind of where I want to get in, like the somatics and how like that applies to every area of your life. Because, and I'm curious if you agree with this or not, just throwing myself into something, just rip off the Band-Aid and just go for it. I would have a full PTSD flashback and it would be a disaster.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Maybe there's other people that can handle that. Their nervous system can, because maybe they don't have all this stuff. So would you say that people who have trauma have all sorts of different things going on, like mental illness, that there has to be a special approach into being able to take risks and do different things in life?
Absolutely. It takes us longer to feel safe. So narcissistic abuse specifically is relational trauma, right? You can't trust, especially if it's a romantic partner or a parent. That's your foundation of safety. Those people should be looking out for you. And when you don't have that developmentally growing up, it changes your brain. And when you experience narcissistic abuse in a marriage or in a long-term relationship, it also changes your brain, which is kind of the classification of CPTSD. And, I think even like just giving a story for myself, like I'm in a new relationship now. We've been dating for 4 years, but we didn't move in together until 6 months ago. So like it was just, we were going so slow and so steady, and it took me a really long time to let my guard down, to start to feel safe, to start to like open up more. Have you experienced similar in relationships?
I always tell people, hire me as your business strategist, but not as a relationship coach.
Yeah.
I've been engaged 3 times.
Yeah.
I've left all 3.
Yeah.
I Yes.
Yeah.
It is. And it's not just with romantic relationships, it's also friendships, even business partnerships. Now, I used to be, which I also hear is common, I used to like go too quickly, which you can end up then narcissists look for this, right? So I could trust too easily, too quickly, bought in, like the love bombing, all of that. And same with friendships. I've had this happen, unfortunately. And I really didn't see that coming. I don't know. I just never thought of it in a friendship.
Right.
And so I've swung the pendulum probably a little too much the other way, but I know it's going to come back center.
Yeah.
To where I'll give you guys an example. This is either you guys are going to relate or even realize how my mind works. When I observe, not out of judgment, but out of true observation, somebody and who they're hanging out with, and I see them hanging out with certain people online or interacting, even collabing on content, and I know that the person that they're collabing with for a fact is full of shit. Now I'm sus of the other person who I like. So I can go too far because that's unfounded evidence. That's not fair to do that. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's almost like it's the hypervigilance.
Yeah.
Can go too far.
Yeah.
And then it blocks
Connection.
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely. I do think that hypervigilance is one of my super strengths with running a business. I had an assistant who stole from me. And, I figured it out really fast due to my hypervigilance. And it happened while I was on a vacation. I think she thought I would never notice. And it was like the day I was at a wedding, and I caught it immediately, and fired her immediately when I got back, and like removed her access to a ton of stuff the day of. And I do think hypervigilance, it's a strength. And then there's like the other side of it, the shadow side of it, where it can be really limiting and it can block connection with other people. And there are people that will take advantage of you, but the reality is I truly believe that most people are good and are good-hearted. Doesn't mean that they don't make mistakes sometimes, but I really think that most people's intention is good.
I have a very different view.
Tell me.
I do not agree with you. I think most people, even if it's unrealized,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people acting out of trauma because they've not done work.
Right.
And I think there's a lot more of that than people like yourself or myself who have done that depth of work.
Yeah.
Most people resist going to this level of work. They resist going in the body, don't they?
Yes.
Because I know I spent years in talk therapy. And I have a therapist now. I'm not saying it didn't help me, but it was above the neck, the intellectualizing. Going into my body, I would make up, looking back, I wasn't conscious of it. I bought into all my stories. Like if I had seen your exercises and your programs, like the old Tiffany, I would have been like, oh, that's too simple. There's no way that works. I don't have time for that. It doesn't burn calories.
Totally. Totally. I was skeptical too when I first saw it. My ballet teacher is the person who introduced it to me, because she was like, you're so dissociated when you're not dancing. I was in my very early 20s. She's like, you're so dissociated when you're not dancing. And I was like, I know I have PTSD. And she's like, okay, come to my somatics class. And I was like, it's just a bunch of people rolling around on the floor in their pajamas. Like, I really don't understand how that's going to help me process my PTSD, and that's going to help me with dissociation. But it really did. And so I was super skeptical. It feels very illogical for movement to help so much.
And I just think we've also been programmed too, right? Like, you go do talk therapy. It's just more mainstreamed, and you're the one, not that there aren't other people who talk about somatic work, but you've definitely really brought it to the masses. And why is it that important to you? Why do you shout this from the rooftops?
I spent 10 years searching for relief from the symptoms that my body was communicating to me with no luck. So, and like with no success. And that's why I'm so vocal about somatics, because it's the first thing that's given me the tools and me the agency to heal myself. So I joke that I was once addicted to massage therapy. And then my massage therapist was like, I'm going to go out of town for 3 weeks. And I was like, getting massage once every 2 weeks, and it was the only thing that was helping me sleep. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Just not sleep for 3 weeks? And then I was like, oh, and I also had an addiction to weed prior to that to help me sleep. So it was like I went from this addiction to weed and a substance to being addicted to this massage therapist. And I was like, oh, I'm just like addicted to these things for helping me sleep, because I didn't sleep from age 14 to, and so those were tools that I was using during those times in my life. And, you know, weed was horrible for my health. I was smoking it. And the massage was incredibly expensive, and I didn't have that kind of money. So I was like, this isn't going to be sustainable for me. And somatics was really the first thing that, you know, once I learned the exercises, once I learned the technique, it gave me the tools to heal myself, and I don't need any equipment. I can do it on the plane. I can do it in a hotel room. I can do it anywhere and bring myself immediate relief. And now I know, okay, if I'm getting ringing in my ears, I know the exact exercise to do to relieve that. If I can't sleep or I wake up in the middle of the night, I have an exercise for that. And that's why I shout it from the rooftops. I think like so many doctors, and even in the book, The Body Keeps the Score, like suggest yoga. And I'm not saying yoga is bad. I'm not a fan of yoga, and it's one of my most controversial opinions. But if you love yoga, stick with yoga. But I think yoga is like kind of hard.
This is when I extra fell in love with you.
Yeah.
Because to get somewhere in my mind, you really got to come at it something from another way.
Yeah.
And I felt called out because, like you said, with yoga, I get in my ego with whether it's other people around me or I want to hold this, I have to hold this posture.
Totally.
And I need to go an inch lower. And some instructors will say, like, you know, like breathe deeper into it, go, and then
deeper.
Right.
Yeah.
And then my body definitely reacts to that. Well, that's not what somatic work is.
No.
Right? That's putting more stress on your system.
It's putting more stress on your system. And, you know, I have like perfectionistic tendencies as well, coming from being a ballet dancer. So like in a yoga class, like I was like, my motivation wasn't pure. It wasn't to,
exactly.
Like I was like trying to like be perfect at everything. And I didn't feel like the teachers were always super knowledgeable, and I didn't really feel like it was actually helping my biological stress response or helping me feel less stressed. Like sometimes even like the booking the class, the getting to the class, like the class culture was kind of stressful sometimes. And I really feel like somatics is a way better first step for your body when you're recovering from trauma, from CPTSD, or from chronic stress. Start with somatics first, and then you can like move up into yoga and more, I would say like athletic, difficult types of movement, because movement is really regulating and it's really great for you. And even like when you're regulated, it's good for you to experience a little bit of stress. So you want to do that, and you know, physical exercise is a great way to introduce that in a healthy way, where like with weightlifting, you want to go like a little past your edge so that you're building muscle, right? But somatics is fun because it's like, how lazy and relaxed and unambitious can you be as you just like gently rock your hips in bed? And it brings this whole different approach to movement that most people have never experienced. And if you're a, you know, high achieving woman, if you like are a hyper independent woman, that like I have worked with so many women who they just immediately start crying in their first session because I'm giving them permission to be lazy, to be unambitious. Like, how would you do this on day 4 of a vacation? And that is really liberating for high achieving, successful women.
It's also vulnerable.
Yeah. I've never thought of it that way.
Because even with like anything that gets me deep in my body in a relaxing way, so the somatic work that you do, breath work, even floating. I'm a big floater.
Ooh, I love floating.
Like I'm all about the floating.
Love it.
And I notice myself resisting doing the very thing that I do trust you when you say you're having these symptoms, like do this. And you even say, which that I'm proud of myself, I remembered this. I'm circled back, everybody. I remember my ADHD is like really at bay today, where you can just watch
Yes.
your videos and actually still get relief, which is fucking true, you guys. I was like, oh my God, that's so wild. But which is great that you say that. And I want you to talk about like the neuroscience behind that, because I can get myself to do that. But I will go into resistance to doing the things that I know will get me in my body and regulated. And I'm aware now, but I'm not out to lunch about it. I know I'm resisting doing it. And I want to know what the hell that's about, because there's no way I'm the only one.
You're definitely not the only one. That's one of the most common customer service questions that we get is, I have the exercises, I'm so interested in doing them, but for some reason, like, I can't bring myself to do it. And our response to people is like, just lay down in bed and like see if you're willing to turn on the video and just watch the video. Moving your body is incredibly vulnerable. There's also a lot of my work starts with the hips, and there's a lot of trauma for women in the pelvis and in the hips. And so that can feel scary and it can feel vulnerable. And sometimes watching the video can prime you in a way to like see it a few times so it doesn't feel like as big of a risk when you start to physically do it. There was a study done with athletes who were weightlifters, and there was one control group that both groups were recovering from injury, and there was one control group that did nothing to recover from injury, and there was another control group, or there was the other group that imagined themselves doing their exercises that they used to do. Most of them were like professional athletes, and they would just visualize themselves doing the exercises. And the group that visualized doing the exercises had retained, I think, 80% more muscle mass than the group that did nothing. And their recovery time back into being able to like fully train again was significantly shorter than the control group. And so from that study, there's been some research done about neural pathways and the use of visualization with neural pathways. So we all have neural pathways, and similar to muscles, you can like just get really used to the same neural pathway all the time. So by that, I mean, let's say you have a thought over and over again, I'm not smart enough, right? And that becomes a neural pathway in your brain that anytime you experience difficulty, that limiting belief comes up. Obviously it's because I'm not smart enough, right? But then if you start to create new neural pathways, and instead of telling yourself the story, I'm not smart enough, you tell yourself the story, I'm learning new things. And I call this brainwashing yourself for good.
Let's gaslight ourselves.
Brainwashing for good. Then that old neural, like, and the more you just kind of think like, I'm learning new things, I'm learning new things, I'm learning new things, and you stop thinking I'm not smart enough, then that new neural pathway starts to get stronger, and you start to like enjoy learning new things. You start to like not worry about making mistakes as much. You stop thinking that you're not smart enough. And it's the same with movement, and so that's why a lot of people are like scared, but it's like sometimes we just need to prime our neural pathways. We need to visualize the exercises or just watch the exercises so that we open up this new neural pathway, this new lane in our brain to body connection. and then we can start strengthening it. But sometimes just jumping into the action can feel overwhelming.
Let me ask you something. How much time are you spending creating content every single week? And is all of that fucking work actually turning into clients and sales for you? Because views don't pay the bills, honey, and posting more is not the answer if you haven't learned how to create content that is psychologically structured to make the right people want to buy from you now versus you being a someday option. This is just one of the high income generating skills that I teach you inside of the posse. And for our 7-year anniversary, I'm giving my VIP posse peeps something insanely next level. Okay. Imagine having a top tier profitable content specialist available to you 24/7, helping you create your hooks, your videos, your carousels, your captions, your CTAs using my actual proven methodologies. And we built her, and her name is Gabby. And through the Gab Lab AI playbook, we've turned my profitable content formulas, buyer psychology, and my emotional based sales techniques into a plug and play AI programming designed to cut your content creation down by 50%. Go get all the details on the posse and our weekly live trainings, plus hear from all the incredible stories from people who are already in there and people who've been in there for years at projectmewithtiffany.com/projectme posse. Swipe up. The resources are inside the show notes. And you can also look here in the description on YouTube at Project Me TV. See you inside.
What are some of the signs and symptoms that you had when you were in that toxic marriage, when you look back, that it was very clear you were dysregulated, you were in, your body was giving you all the alarms that maybe kind of woke you up out of, I call it the narcissistic fog.
Yeah.
It like kind of woke you up like, oh, like I'm falling apart over here.
Yeah. Mine were pretty extreme, and it's embarrassing for me to admit that mine had to be so extreme because I was already somatic certified at that time. So like I intellectually knew better, but I was in this deep fog because the love bombing was so good. And I really thought he was my dream person. And so I kept attaching to that, but I was getting panic attacks almost every day, and I was starting to faint. At the time, I lived in Manhattan, and I fainted in the middle of Columbus Circle. I fainted on the subway. And I think what's hard for a lot of us is we can make up other stories, right? And those other stories might be partially true. It was hot. It was New York. It was the summer. Perhaps I was dehydrated. I went to the doctor, and they were like, you could drink more water, but we're not seeing that's why you fainted.
Yeah.
Getting the panic attacks and having the fainting, I still sort of ignored it, and I just kept pushing through, which is very hard for me to admit, like I said, because I know so much. I already knew so much about somatics, and just I didn't want to believe that it was true. Like the thought that my ex-husband was manipulating me and was taking advantage of me was too hard for me to realize at that time.
Yeah, because when we know something is true and admit it, that means we have to take action.
Yeah. What was the turning point with you, with your mom, where you decided to go no contact, or where you knew you were in a really toxic dynamic? Was it something in your body? Was it a situation?
I knew it was toxic for a long time.
Yeah.
Because I've done a million forms of therapy.
Yeah.
So I even did some somatic work, which I want to talk about, because if you're not doing it with someone who is really properly trained, you guys, it can go sideways. So, and this is someone who is pretty well known too. So I just want to give that disclaimer. And again, you guys can swipe up and go inside of the show notes in order to get all of her courses, and I vouch for them. I do them myself. I'm an extreme trauma survivor, and I've never had any incidents, but obviously at your own discretion. And then her book will be there too, and all of her socials. So I already knew it was all intellect. It was all above the neck. I knew I kept getting sick. So every 5 weeks, I would have like a sinus infection or like walking pneumonia, bronchitis. And like you said, I had stories around it. The stories were at that time, my past career, I was in like the pharmaceutical medical space. So I was around like hospitals, doctors' offices.
Yeah.
And so that's why I even told myself that because I wasn't breastfed, I had a low immune system. Like I have no knowledge of any of this, right? But I believed that when in reality, I was in deep survival mode every day. And keep in mind, I was working out 5 days a week. You know, I ate healthy.
Yeah.
I took vacations. I got massages. But that made it more confusing.
Right. Because you're taking really good care of yourself. So why would you be getting sick?
Right.
Yeah.
And so I didn't like that feeling, but it was the observation of how I felt before and after an interaction with my mom. And I use this later on with other people, right? How am I feeling? Is there anticipatory anxiety prior to meeting a friend, meeting whomever? And how am I feeling after? Now, I am an introvert, empath, so like me being a little drained isn't strange, but that's different than me feeling like I get Heidi. I call it Heidi.
Yeah.
I want to put on like a giant robe and a blankie and in a dark room and hide for like a long time. Well, that's not really a great sign if I feel I need to hide, right? After being with someone or around a group of people. But the anticipatory anxiety, I would break out in hives. I had I had all the fucking symptoms that you point out on your socials and I love how detailed you are. I had the eye twitching, the ear ringing. You talk about even gray hair. And I remember at 30, and I think, isn't 30 like a little young to get gray hair?
Yeah.
And I remember going, is that like gray hair in my hairline? And in my family lineage, like the women didn't go gray early or anything. So it was like I had that going on. The inflammation, I felt like if you put a pin in me, like air would come out. You know, I always felt like tight and like cracky, rigid joints.
Yeah.
But there was a story I made, and quite frankly, the medical system helped validate my stories.
Yeah.
So that was a long answer, but yeah, I mean, it's really the before and the after and slowing down and paying attention. But then that's tricky though, because if you're dealing with someone who's love bombing, that can also feel exhilarating.
And they go in like the cycle of abuse, right? Where they love bomb you, then they invalidate you, then they abuse you, and then they love bomb you again. And it's like, and that cycle gets addicting. And then I think for me at least, I always thought of abusive people as they were always abusive and they always acted like that. But so many of them are so charismatic. And that's part of the narcissistic profile, right? Is the charisma. They might have great relationships with other people that really vouch for them. And then, they kind of pick and choose who they abuse based on who they perceive to be like a quote unquote easier target, which like if you've ever experienced narcissistic abuse is probably because you're highly empathetic, you like are open-minded, you're willing to give people a second chance, all of which are beautiful traits around healthy people. But like the exact traits that a narcissist capitalizes on and uses to their advantage to keep you stuck in this cycle. And then when the love bombing happens again, then you're like, okay, everything's fine. And then it just like swings back.
But I appreciate you talking about like the addiction to the cycle, because I call it the internal drugstore. All those different like hormones we have, like the adrenaline, the cortisol, all of that, right? Like that can feel like, a high.
Yeah.
And even the crash afterwards.
Yes.
That also can create that. When do most people end up needing a discharge the most when it comes to doing the somatic work? Like, at what period do you notice that most people are like, okay, I need to do my exercises now?
The first thing I ask people is, how are you sleeping? Because sleep is one of the most sensitive systems in your body, and it's just often the first thing that gets disrupted. So if I ask someone, how are you sleeping? And they're like, it's like a little spotty, or, some days I'm waking up at 3 a.m, or I'm covered in sweat when I wake up. I'm like, okay, let's do the exercises again. Also, if you get quick to irritation, like if you get irritated super easily and more, everyone has a spectrum for that, but if you get irritated more easily than your normal, your baseline, that's also a sign you're probably dysregulated and could really benefit from doing the exercises.
Why is talking about it not enough? Because I'm a verbal processor.
Yeah.
Hence why I have a podcast.
Yeah, I love it.
This is how I get my trauma out for everybody to enjoy.
Yes.
So that it does help me.
Absolutely.
And I talk with my body. So
Yeah.
that also feels good to me too.
Yeah.
But it's not enough. It's not enough. I have to discharge from the body. So why isn't talking about it enough, or even like a normal workout not enough?
So your body has a certain capacity for stress, and we have this thing called the biological stress response, and everyone needs recovery from stress, and most people don't really recover from stress. So when we get stressed, normally our first go-to is like, I should rest or I should go on vacation. Both are great first steps, but like a lot of people will rest a whole weekend, or they'll rest for a whole week, or they'll be in like their hermit phase, self-isolating all the time and rest for years, which I definitely did that when I was quite young. And then they're like, I'm still exhausted and I still don't feel well. Or you book a really relaxing week-long vacation, you come back, maybe you feel good for like half a day, and then your regular life picks back up, and all of a sudden you're back in the exact same state that you were before you left. And it's really because our nervous system gets kind of stuck in this mode of like fight, flight, or freeze, survival mode, or then there's this middle place called functional freeze. And we really need tools to like regulate our nervous system these days, because our nervous system is hundreds of millions of years old, and our modern lifestyle has changed so much lately, and our nervous system hasn't adapted to that. So in the past, a threat used to be getting chased by a bear, or like, a new tribe coming and attacking your tribe. And in those instances, you go into fight or flight, right? You're either going to fight the bear or you're going to run away from it. Both are physical discharges. Now we get stressed out by an email. We get stressed out by a conversation.
A social media video. Checking your bank account. A letter in the mail, right? And we're not going to fight, or we're not going to fight the letter. We're not going to like fight our boss, right? We're not going to run away in that moment. So we never get that physical discharge from the stress. And a lot of people are really good at being like, okay, this is happening. And they're really good at like calming themselves down in that moment and kind of like stuffing it down. And the more stuffing you do, the more it accumulates in your body until you have like a blow up, whether it's like an emotional blow up, or, you like just like completely collapse and you're like in a burnout state. Yeah.
Because your body like can't anymore. So somatic exercises, what I teach are these really clear ways to have that physical discharge in a really healthy way that brings your body back to its baseline, and, adapted for modern society of the stressor being email, family, finances, etc.
Do you recommend that we do some form of somatic work daily, even if it's 3 minutes laying in bed?
I think if you live a stressful lifestyle, yes. Like if you're a high achieving woman, Yes. I have a lot of friends who are CEOs, and my wish for them is to do like 2 minutes of somatics a day, because so many of us are really, really driven. And I'm like, the drive isn't going to go away. We're not just going to be like, oh, I want to be calm and like decide to close my business for my health, you know?
Although I said it yesterday, I was like, I'm done. I quit. I say it like once a week. I'm done. I quit. I'm moving away.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But like the reality is most people don't. And the drive is there. And somatics really gives you these really simple tools so that you can be discharging the stress every day. I do them for about 5 minutes a day. I do like 1 or 2 minutes when I wake up, 1 or 2 minutes before I go to bed. Even on my way here, I did like a little exercise in the Uber to just calm myself down, give myself a little more energy, slow my racing thoughts so that I'm more just grounded when I get here. And I find them really helpful to make good decisions. Like if you're a CEO, you're making 1,000 decisions or more a day. And if your mind's super busy and your body and your shoulders are up to your ears and you're clenching your jaw right now, like you're not in the best state to make those decisions.
Yet, even though people hearing this who haven't really taken a deep breath in the last hour, guaranteed,
Yeah.
and are like, wait, you're talking about me, like some of these things that you mentioned, they will still, I would put money on it, even hesitate to going and getting your book and even, you know, reading about it or even buying. I mean, it's your stuff is at all different price points, right? It's not about the money. Is that part of the resistance to getting into the body? Is that where it starts showing up?
Yeah, definitely. The body's often the missing link for people, but it's also kind of looked at as you know, if we think about talk therapy or processing verbally, that's looked at as intellectual, it's looked at as smart. But when we think about like rocking our hips or like pulling on our ears, you're kind of like, what?
I fucking love an ear pull.
I do too.
God, I love it.
I do too.
I pull my own ears all the time, and I'm like, do I need a facelift now from pulling my ears?
It's so good for your vagus nerve, and it brings you back into regulation.
I love it.
Yeah, it's great.
When you mentioned that you had this hermit phase in your 20s, and then earlier before that, you had a whole period of time where you were walking in survival. It sounds like you had a lot of trauma prior to entering this narcissistic relationship.
I did. Yeah, I'm a childhood sexual assault survivor. And, you know, that is why I didn't sleep for 10 years, because it would always happen in the middle of the night. And so once that started happening, I was like, nope, not sleeping anymore, which is valid. But also then over time, that started causing a bunch of other issues. And then I started dealing with chronic pain. I was a dancer, so I thought, obviously my chronic pain is from ballet, right? So I stopped doing ballet for the first 2 years of college, and my chronic pain actually got worse. Then I was like, oh, dance is actually really helping me process my emotions. And it's like this outlet for me, and the movement was really helpful for me. And it was only like 3 years later that I discovered, 3 years later that I discovered somatics.
I think that the resistance to getting in the body, I'm also a survivor. My mom sex trafficked me. So there's the combo plate there.
I'm so sorry.
And the resistance to getting in the body obviously makes sense because I was disconnected from it for my own survival and then never entered back into it.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that.
Right.
I mean, completely checked out from it. And going back into the body, I think for people who are survivors of, and I'm not saying it's not the case for people who have emotional abuse too, but have had a physical abuse, would you say there's even more resistance?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's really appropriate for your brain and your body to respond to sexual assault, especially when you're so young, to completely dissociate. It's so much to go through. And I had dissociative amnesia for a little while, and I didn't even start remembering about the sexual assault until another incident of sexual assault happened, and I had like this flashback of what happened to me when I was quite young. So I think it's very common for people to completely disconnect from the body because you don't feel safe in your own body anymore, and you don't feel like your body even is your body. Like you feel like, oh, it's just for these other people. So like, retreating out, we were talking about this before the show, like even like with spiritual stuff, like retreating out of the body can feel more relieving in a way. Like, let me ascend to a higher spiritual place because that's a new place. That's safe. That hasn't been like tainted by these people that did this to you. And that can feel really nice for a little while, but then your body starts like screaming at you with these symptoms. I'm not sure if you experienced any physical symptoms.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so many. One of them, and I'd love to hear your expert opinion on it. I would get, and I don't have any sort of condition like low iron or anything that would have caused it. I had bruises all the time. And it'd be like the mysterious bruise, but it's not like I ran into something.
Yeah.
And it was like so bizarre. And I'd be like, well, I guess I just remembered. And it was like there would be things that happened in my body and maybe something did happen, but I was so disconnected.
Yeah.
I'd have scratches, I'd have bruises. It looked like people would even say like, oh my God, what'd you run into? I'm like, I have no idea.
Generally connected to cortisol. So the bruises will just like show up way more easily if your cortisol's high, which happens when you've been through peak stress long term.
Yeah, my cortisol was so high. The other one was, and I still do it once in a while now, but I think it's for a different reason, involuntary twitching. And now it's more subtle. But when I was going through like the intense recovery work, and I think maybe because my body was discharging, I'm talking like a flailing arm and stuff.
That's a physical discharge.
Can you explain what that is for people?
Absolutely. So a panic attack is similar to that, where it's this, your body has built up so much, and then you like have to release. You have to release it. And so that can be restless legs for people. That can be, like you're saying, like an arm just twitching. Even folks with Tourette's. I don't know a ton about Tourette's, so I don't want to misspeak here, but I have heard some people with Tourette's talk about it being connected for them to extreme stress and to this discharge that they just have to do it to get it out of their body. And it's the same with a panic attack. It's like you're so built up, and when you're an abuse survivor from childhood, like you just learn all you want to do is be normal and look normal and have no one know. Right? So you're just like stuffing it down. And over time that does build up in your body to a point where it just has to get out. And that's when things like the arm will happen, when panic attacks will happen, when the twitches will happen.
The spiritual thing you're talking about is so interesting because I don't think people realize they're doing it and it's innocent and there is a high from it. And it does feel blissful.
Yeah.
And now people go on these like treats and do like ayahuasca and like inject themselves with like frog poison or whatever the hell it is. And go like, I'm going to another level and all of that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having a spiritual connection. It's very important to me, but not in avoidance of the body. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. I think some people can get so deep into it because it's this safe place for them that then they completely lose connection with their body, and they're just in their upper chakras so much and ascending and like channeling visions and all of this so much that they lose touch with their groundedness, with their physicality, which I feel like blocks wealth in a way.
Wow. Wait, that's fascinating because I've been coaching and mentoring for 15 years.
Yeah.
So over 150,000 people. And I look at patterns.
Yeah.
And people who are in, let's say, like the spiritual world, my healers, they have the most resistance and blocks when it comes to money.
Yeah. I've noticed that too. So this is not based on science. This is just based on anecdotal.
Well, yeah, it's like clinical data, so to speak. Oh, fascinating.
Yeah. I really think that you need to be connected to your body, even just slightly, to be able to make money.
When you say like the upper chakras and lower chakras, what are some of the signs and symptoms that someone's maybe operating a little too heavily on the upper ones versus the lower ones?
I'd say vertigo, nausea, like clearing your throat all the time. Dissociation, like pulling into your driveway and sitting in your car for like 10 minutes, just kind of like zoning out on your phone before you transition into the house would be one example of it. Or getting out of the shower and sitting in your towel, like kind of just like staring.
I love when you do that video.
Just like staring at your clothes, like not being able to pick out what to, I mean, a little bit of that is normal, but if you're just like sitting there for 5+ minutes, like that's a dissociative state. So I think there's a lot of connection. I say this with so much love because I was in such a deep dissociative state for 10+ years of my life, to the point where my mentor noticed it, called it out, and that was the reason why I started Somatics, because she was like, I was dissociated into dance, right? Like dance was my safe place. Dance was where nothing bad happened to me. I was really good at it. And it was so fun for me. And so it was this place where I was really alive and I was really present. But then literally like the music would turn off. I'd walk out of the studio and I was like a zombie person. Like my posture completely changed. I would just I got made fun of a lot in high school because I would just stare into space with like my mouth slack jaw, just like in a visibly dissociated state. And I had no idea what was going on. I just thought I was a space cadet.
You're a highly self-aware person, so you already know whether you are fucking around with your business or whether you're actually going for it and treating it like a true business in order to be able to stack the cash that you want to do to change the lifestyle to the one that you actually want to have that feels good to your nervous system. Well, the posse is designed for the person who's decided, I'm doing this, I'm committed to developing the skills, I'm taking action, and I'm going to get damn good at them. And I'm building a business that actually supports the life that I want, and I'm honoring myself versus self-abandoning. You get me live every week, and my VIP peeps get Gabby, your 24/7 profitable content specialist, to save you from the excruciating anxiety and heaviness of what to post, what to say, how do I say it, how do I talk about my offers in a way that doesn't give people the ick, but that it still maintains integrity of who I am and actually sounds like me instead of some AI slop. All of that is here for you. And we come together because when we come together, we rise so much faster. And this community of crazies will end up being some of your best business besties, your collaborators, and sometimes even your clients. So come on in. All the details, Virgo style, are on the sign up page at projectmewithtiffany.com/Project Posse. And just know that what you want is available to you without you having to sacrifice your well being. As long as you're learning from someone who has done the thing and is able to hold the space and guide you so you don't end up in a space of burnout, so you don't end up creating a golden cage where now you've created these income streams and you've created this business or maybe your second business, but now you're absolutely depleted and exhausted. And I know that's a fear of yours. We don't do that around here. I've lived that life. I've done it that way. We create sustainable income streams so that you can actually feel free. Otherwise, you just end up trapped again, and then you might as well have a jobby job. Okay? See you inside there.
Yeah, more stories.
Yeah.
That other people can help us
Yeah.
form and validate because they're saying that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so fascinating. So what about if you're operating a little too heavily on the lower chakras, are there different signs and symptoms for that? Because I selfishly feel like my Virgo ass can be a little like too grounded.
Yeah. Let me think about that one, because that's like also I identify with that as well.
I'm like,
being
I'm like a type C person in general.
yeah.
So it's like, but I can be too, there's like a sense of almost heaviness.
Yeah. I would say that shows up, and I'm going to speak like personally about this, because I haven't worked with as many people who are super grounded and super in their bodies. Like most of my clients are like, don't have access to their bodies. So I feel more well-versed in the former. For me personally, it shows up as like stuckness. Like I'll wake up and I'll be like, I'm going to stay in bed. And then, which is fine. But like sometimes I'm like, do I need a 7-hour slow morning? Like my one thing I wanted to do on a Saturday was like take the dogs for a walk, and now it's like I woke up at 7 a.m. and it's 2 p.m. and I'm like just getting out. So that's for me when I notice like, I think I might be a little bit too in my lower chakras, or feeling like a little too grounded, where I feel stuck, I feel heavy, I feel lethargic, I don't want to get out of bed, I don't want to like see people, I don't want to do anything. I've actually like really lost connection with my spirituality before, and just like not been able to access it at all, and then hired a Reiki healer to help me reconnect.
Yeah, so it can go both ways, but the bottom line is we do so much work on the mind. I mean, even if you go to a Barnes and Noble, there's like a gazillion books on the mind. And then there's books on like health and, physical fitness, and, books written by athletes. But I mean, I'm assuming that's why, you have a book.
Yeah.
Is because I mean, there's not a big section. And
No.
I know there's a couple famous books,
right,
but they're from decades ago.
Yes. I believe Body Keeps the Score was published in 2014 initially, and Dr. Peter Levine has written several books. One that's really good is called Waking the Tiger. But those are also decades old, at least a decade old. So HarperCollins is my publisher, and when they approached me, they really saw me as the kind of face of modern somatics. And I'm not saying Bessel van der Kolk or Peter Levine aren't trauma survivors, but they're not as public with their story as I am. And HarperCollins really saw that I'm a younger person, I'm a woman, I've experienced through the sexual assault and the narcissistic abuse and the relationship issues that I've experienced, things that are very relatable for other women as well. A lot of other women, unfortunately, have gone through similar things to varying degrees, and they loved how open I was about my story and how I was able to break down somatic concepts into easy to digest concepts. Because if you read The Body Keeps the Score, it's a little traumatizing to read. So if you're like early in your healing journey, I don't suggest diving into it because it's a little difficult. If you want a book to read, like at the very beginning, What My Bones Know by Stephanie Fu is a book about CPTSD healing, and that's like a really great entry place to start with. But yeah, Dr. Peter Levine and and Bessel van der Kolk, their books are both like really meaty and really academic, and they're both researchers, and that's great, and they're really important, and I'm not trying to discredit that. It's just my book is really easy to understand, and it's really approachable, and it's like skimmable too. Like if you're like, I don't want to read this section about this difficult thing you went through, you can just pop over and you can get into another section of the book and completely understand it.
What is the risk that you're seeing with the additional stressors and all the information coming at us? And clearly our world is like gotten more and more. What is the risk for continuing to kind of put off, deprioritize doing somatic work that you see will happen long term across the board, in your opinion?
We're processing more information in a day than our grandparents did in an entire month. Our bodies are not designed for this, and it's not going to slow down. So I'm not saying put away your phone. I'm not saying anything about AI. I'm just saying that more and more we're going to need these tools, these really simple tools to regulate our nervous system and to come back into our body for just a few minutes a day as we get more plugged into tech and as tech starts taking over our culture more and more, which is, in my opinion, inevitable. So what I'm really trying to create is essentially like the immediate instant relief from that. So if your eyes are burning, you can go onto my app and there's literally exercises that will help you relax your optic nerve and soothe that. If your ears are ringing, there are exercises there. If you have nausea, if you can't go to the bathroom, like you're backed up, like there are very prescriptive exercises on my app that help with those body symptoms that are coming up from how much information we're processing. I just think it's like, I think it's going to get worse and worse, unfortunately. And I hate being pessimistic like that, but like everyone I talk to is overstimulated.
I'm feeling it myself, and I do so many things to keep myself functioning.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm already on the offense of it, just like you are. Like I do things ahead of time so that I have to, or I'd be dead, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And so I already do that, and I notice it feels like a fire hose coming at us sometimes, and it feels like so much pressure and so much to remember, and there's so many things. And I've been an entrepreneur 18 years, so it's not like, oh, it's because you're an entrepreneur. It's like, I've been an entrepreneur a long time.
Right.
I'm not saying that doesn't add to it.
Yeah.
It feels like, to be an adult in society, it is so much more work. And the stories that I can hear people saying are, well, now doing the somatic work is another thing I have to do.
Oh, yeah, totally. I get that. One thing I want to say to that is like it could replace a lot of other things that you're currently doing. So like I was a wellness junkie for a really long time. I love the wellness industry. I'm very invested in it. I'm like obsessed with it. But for a long time, I was doing so much. Like I was gratitude journaling. Like I was meditating every day. I was doing yoga every day. Like it was just so like, I was like, wow, I spend like 5 hours a day on my healing and on my wellness. And I actually feel more stressed out. And once I found somatics, I was like, you mean I can just like go like this for like 10 minutes and like not have to do all that 5 hours of work? Obviously, if you love gratitude journaling, keep doing it. But like for me, it felt like homework. And I hated it.
Well, it can turn into a have to.
Yeah.
Or we can attach a meaning to it. If I'm not journaling and if I'm not doing this, then I'm neglecting myself. And it can end up, really, all those things can stack up. And I'd go back to saying, even when I start doing that, because I admit, I'll even say consciously sometimes, I don't want to fucking be in my body right now. Fuck you.
Yeah. I get that.
Like I'll say that, and I'm gentle about it. It's like, I know. And I think a lot of people who have that thought is because I don't want to feel those feelings.
Yes.
I'm already overstimulated, maxed out, tired. The last thing I want to do is feel the feelings, or even like if you're someone who gets flashbacks, like get flashbacks. So then I don't want to do that right now.
Yeah.
So then I don't. So what do you do in that circumstance?
I would just don't force yourself to go into your body. Like if you're having that type of reaction, just like maybe lay on the floor for a second. Like laying on the floor with your knees bent and both feet on the floor. It's called constructive rest position in Alexander technique, which is a different somatics technique. But it's really grounding. And even just doing that for like a minute can be really nice. And you're not really in your body. Like you could definitely be listening to a podcast or listening to some music or on your phone while you're laying on the floor. But that can just be a really nice thing to do. Or just really listen to yourself and indulge and like don't be in your body for a second and wait until you're like feeling a little more inclined to try.
I love that. Yeah, I go in the bathtub.
Ooh, I love
That's like,
baths.
I'm a big with the water thing.
Me too.
So I'll go in the bathtub if I notice, like, you know, I start having that resistance
yeah.
to doing the things. I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
what does feel safe?
Mm-hmm.
But that isn't like you know, couch rotting.
Yes. Yes.
And the bathtub seems to work for me.
Bathtub, the bath is this container for your body in this way, and it the warm water is really, really good for you, and it almost simulates like a womb type experience. It's really, really good for your nervous system.
I'm glad that I did that intuitively.
Yeah, you just intuitively knew what to do.
I will stay in the bathtub for 3 hours.
I love that.
And I'm happy about it.
Yeah.
I call it my bath office.
I love it.
I'm like, I have taken meetings.
I love that. Do you have a little tray?
I have a tray.
Yes.
I have all the supplies.
Yes.
Where would you tell people to start? You know, my readers, obviously, you guys get this book. Is your book available yet, like on Audible? Have you done that version of it? Is it your voice?
It's not my voice,
Okay.
Unfortunately.
But it's a voice you approve.
It's a voice I approved. I hired someone to do it.
Okay.
I had to take a week off of work.
Because I love your voice.
Thank
so I was
you.
like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it's still a good voice.
It is a good voice. She's very soothing.
So you can get it on Audible as well. Okay. I'll have all those links in the show notes for you guys. You have several different things. Where would you say is the best place for someone to start? Is it your app, or is it buying like an individual, like self-paced course?
I would say start with a self-paced course because the app's a recurring payment. So like check it out. Make sure you like it first. And the Release Stress and Stored Trauma course is our entry course. It's $57. It's a 30-day program. You can do all of the exercises in bed or on the floor. Like the lazier and more relaxed, the better. And we just have really great experiences with people starting with that course. If you want the app, you can definitely get the app, but I would suggest starting with the course.
Yeah, and try not to put pressure, you guys, like on, well, I bought it, like I have to do it right now. When I saw you create content around that you can just watch it to start.
Mm-hmm.
It was like my body went exhale, and it was like, oh, like I never thought of that,
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, I can just watch it. Like that's not a waste of time, because as like a high achieving person who can get in a little bit, you know, self-judgment,
Mm-hmm.
it's all or nothing. Either
Right.
I'm doing your whole damn protocol,
Yeah.
or don't fucking bother. And
Right.
that's kind of like not the point.
Yeah, you can't heal in that way.
Like that's not how this works,
Yeah.
people. Like,
But my personality type is similar.
and it worked for me.
Yeah.
You know, it worked for me. And sometimes even listening.
Mm-hmm.
And even listening to this book while you're doing something around the house. So maybe ask yourself, well, what's one way I can like inch in
Mm-hmm.
that I don't have as much resistance around?
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, if I go, okay, I'm way outside my body and I'm resistance, and I'm like trying to slam myself in my body, listen, this
Mhm.
can end very poorly for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a push through person.
We want to do a gradual to retrain ourselves,
Mhm.
right? Like isn't that the point? Like
Yes.
it's safe to be in here.
Yes, absolutely.
Because then the neuro pathway then is, you know, I'm safe in my body. I'm
Exactly.
secure in my body.
Exactly. You trust your body, you know, you can listen to it and you can respond to it and you know how to respond to it. Do you want to talk about the somatic experience that you had that was?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I think it's really important because when you guys see all these different people online, and I don't know everybody, but I do know quite a few of them, and
Mhm.
I've coached quite a few people, and I've released quite a few people
Mhm.
if I don't feel someone's of integrity. And there are a lot of people where they get excited about this work, which I get, but they're not properly trained.
Mm-hmm.
They're maybe kind of like self-trained,
Mhm.
and I had an experience from someone who had many years of experience doing it. And in the session, it was like an actual physical one-on-one session. Oh my God. I felt like 500 pounds was taken off me. My body is very responsive to body work, like you.
Yeah.
The massage, all of that. It worked really well. I thought I was like walking on a damn cloud. And it was about 36 hours later. And it wasn't my brain that went into some sort of like trauma space. My body did. And I was tremoring. It was so off kilter. It felt like I was on like cocaine and Xanax at the same time. And I was like, I was disoriented and I didn't know what to do. And there was no access to this person outside of like having an actual like in-person session. And I didn't know what the fuck to do. So I had nowhere to go with it.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Is that a thing that can happen?
Yes, that can happen with someone that isn't doing the integration piece in every session, or is trying to provide you such a like transformative experience during the session, but then you get left hanging with.
I think it was too deep, too fast, with good intentions.
Yeah.
I don't think this person had ill intentions. They're misinformed.
Yeah.
They're not properly trained,
Right.
because I did like how much release there was. I'll go a little into it because I think this will help people. I too, when the abuse occurred from the main abuser, was right after I fell asleep every night. And it was almost at the same fucking time every night with the same fucking TV show on. And I was always on my on my left side. There was something with my left side. Like I must have curved that way, or even in my brain, maybe energetically. That's the way I was trying to. If you guys are watching on YouTube on ProjectME TV, you'll see me doing it. But like almost like I'm curling, and I curled in the fetal position on my left, or mentally I was curling, but I really wasn't. And so I shared that with her, and so that was released. There's like almost like a fascia, like an internal bracing I carried with me, with my neck and shoulders were like hard as a rock. Like I wanted massage therapists to stand on me, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And now I'm like a baby.
Yeah.
And so when she released that, I lost that. I don't know the proper term, so forgive me.
Yeah.
But I lost like the armor that I had my whole life, and it was gone. And it was very scary.
Yeah.
And I know does that sound fucking crazy?
It is, if it's not familiar, it's the familiar bracing, the familiar armor is less scary.
So is that what you mean by how the integration part is so important? Because now you have released, or you have gotten in your body, but that's an unfamiliar state.
Yes. Was that your first session with her that happened?
I don't remember.
Okay. So essentially you want to prepare the body for release first, and kind of basic training when you're doing like any sort of injury recovery, whether it's tension in the body or like a more acute injury, is we're not going to start by poking the wound, right? So if someone when I was coaching Pilates and I specialize in injury recovery for women, if someone had a knee issue, I'm not going to start with knee exercises with them. I'm going to start with some hip exercises. I'm going to start with some shoulder exercises. For you specifically, I would have never started on the left side of your body. I would have shown the right side of your body release first, so that you could feel what that's like, make sure that felt safe for you during the session. And then we would have slowly, incrementally gone into the left side, but we're never going to start by poking the wound. And I think I think people have good intentions, like you're saying, like they want to provide this transformative experience, but then it does leave the client like completely on their own. You also definitely want to work with someone who you can access afterwards if you have those issues. So you should at least be able to email them and have a relatively short turnover time with emails. So like my team, we try to get back to emails every single day. Every work day, we're getting back to all of our emails. Because if anyone does have something where they're like, I released my psoas muscle and now like I started crying, and they're feeling, and I explain in the course like that is normal. But if they're feeling nervous about it, we are there for them to make sure that they feel supported through that and they know what to do. And we tell them like, okay, you're going to lay on the floor, you're going to flex your feet, you're going to stay there, because that's going to help stop any of the emotion that you may be not wanting to feel right now. So we give them options and clear pathways to take. So you definitely, if you're looking for a somatic practitioner to study with, you definitely want someone who has over 10 years of experience, and you definitely want someone who you can access after.
Yeah, I mean, an email would have been fine.
Totally.
For real. I
Totally.
think it would have helped me to even know, right, like that this could happen. So
Yeah.
I love that you offer that, and, someone who has a similar business model, that's very costly.
It is.
For you to be able to offer that.
Yeah.
So that says a lot about how you've modeled your business,
Thank
right?
you.
Where you're putting the people first.
Yeah.
Because you'd be more profitable if you didn't have to have all those people constantly emailing.
There are 5 people that I have on my team that are dedicated to customer support, and we give lifetime access to our courses. So people will reach out to us from 3 years ago.
Wow.
Being like, I started your course again, and have now I'm pregnant and I have this question, and the whole team is trained on how to respond to those questions.
What an incredible resource for people, and the fact that you make it accessible to so many people. I mean, I know you're able to do that also because of the amount of your visibility and the size of your audience, where you can like sustain life. If you had 10 followers, that would be that.
Yeah.
But I also feel like the spiritual side, the universe also set it up this way so that you would be able to reach so many people and have it accessible and have that amount of visibility. Otherwise, you would have had to have built it to get there.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have to sell high volume to be able to sustain the business
Yeah.
at this point, because I have 250,000 past students,
Right.
plus all the new ones that we're acquiring.
Wow.
So, it's a tremendous load. And so that's been something that as a business person I've had to navigate, and then training my team to the point where they know how to respond.
Right.
Is also a really
where they're
big
not
thing.
always coming to you to check to make sure that response was right.
Yeah.
Because that's way too much to hold.
Yeah. Yes. But I'm lucky that I've had people stay on my team for a long time. So that's been really great too.
But what a blessing.
Yeah.
I would say we need to end with, you guys need to go slow and steady with this stuff. I know it can be tempting, because especially when you're a highly ambitious, achieving person, I want to go on this retreat that I'm sure you've seen this stuff marketed, where it's like, heal your childhood trauma and release it all in the jungle of Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen, I've had many people come to me after something like that, and it doesn't work that way. It took decades for you to get here.
Yeah.
Trying to push it and force it and fast track it. And that's not being really nice to ourselves either, is it?
No, you're trying to heal in the same way that you were hurt.
Okay. Well, there's that we ended with, folks. Wow. Well, thank you so much for coming on, sharing with all of the people, and the generous amount of support that you give. I knew we connected on so many levels, but you're one of my people. And I really appreciate you.
Thank you. I was mentioning this to you before the podcast, but I've been following you for, I think, like 4 or 5 years on TikTok, and I've always loved your work, and it's just great to finally meet you in person.
That's cool when stuff works out like this.
Yeah.
This is the fun part for me.
Me too.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.